Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst 3D platformers of all time.
This guy gives stupid a bad name! Ouch!
Oh yeah!
For this list, we'll be looking at some of the laziest and most poorly designed 3D platformers ever created. They may be playable, but that doesn't mean you should play them. And speaking of playing, let us know in the comments which of these 3D platformers are your least favorite and why. Number 10. Frogger: The Great Quest.
I want to zap new bugs, swim new streams, be frog loose and froggy free.
With games like Swampy's Revenge, Frogger showed it could adapt to more modern systems while retaining the charm of its original incarnation. Unfortunately, The Great Quest has wonky physics and unpredictable controls, leading to many unfair deaths and frustrating moments. While the world and levels are colorful enough, that means nothing if the game is not fun to play. The story is also pretty terrible, even by the standards of early 3D platformers.
Prince Frogger, you're my hero. Ew, what was that? Did you just eat a bug?
Huh? Bugs are good for you.
Number 9. Shrek.
Merlin has captured Princess Fiona, but you can rescue her by going on a quest!
DreamWorks Ogre has a couple of decent games under his belt, although anything will seem like a masterpiece following the original Shrek. A 3D platformer primarily inspired by Super Mario 64, at least in level structure, Shrek is a bland game that only has decent visuals going for it. A positive that's not even that much of a factor in the GameCube version. The precious few moves at Shrek's disposal are performed with all the fluidity of a lumbering ogre still coming to grips with the act of running. The humor largely sticks to aping the most juvenile parts of the movie, which means Shrek can fart at the click of a button. Number 8. Ratatouille. There have been plenty of Pixar games over the years, but they haven't all been as good as Toy Story 3. Ratatouille is not an unplayable mess or the worst thing to happen to gaming. It's just a run-of-the-mill platformer that seems happy to settle for mediocrity. Considering the game is an adaptation of one of the most inspiring, funny, and charming animated movies of all time, Ratatouille's unwillingness to rise above the minimum is depressing. Most of Pixar's movies can be enjoyed by all ages, but even little kids might find themselves growing bored of Ratatouille within a few hours.
Oh yeah!
Number 7. Tonic Trouble. Another Ubisoft game released just a few months before Rayman 2, Tonic Trouble shares just enough things with its much better sibling that it ends up feeling a bit redundant. Although somewhat better on PC than the Nintendo 64, Tonic Trouble is let down by awkward controls, lackluster visuals, and uneven level design. A heavy focus on puzzle solving is not a bad thing, but Tonic Trouble's challenges are too simplistic to be anything more than time wasters. Tonic Trouble is a forgettable game that does very little to stand out from the crowd.
Wow! Ho-ho! Yeah!
Number 6. Blues Brothers 2000. Like its source material, Blue Brothers 2000 is a derivative disappointment that apes better projects without capturing most of their strengths. Blues Brothers 2000 wants to be Super Mario 64 and a whole host of other Nintendo 3D platformers. In theory, this isn't the worst idea ever, but the game replicates the shells of those classics without any of the filling. Blues Brothers 2000 also highlights some of the biggest criticisms of early 3D platformers, mainly an unruly camera, rough graphics, and pointless collectathon distractions. Now, the only question that remains is whether the game is worse than the movie. Number 5. Spyro: Enter the Dragonfly. With Insomniac Games moving on to Ratchet & Clank, Spyro entered the 6th console generation with a lot to prove. Despite mostly copying the blueprint of the PS1 trilogy, Enter the Dragonfly is a disaster of a game that makes Crash Bandicoot's PS2 era look golden in comparison. Riddled with technical issues that make the game feel clunky at times, Enter the Dragonfly is underbaked in nearly every area, most of all in its level design and depth. Enter the Dragonfly ruined Spyro's reputation, a stink the franchise would not begin to properly shake off until 2018's reignited trilogy.
Hey, it's Homer!
Number 4. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric.
Amy, Knuckles, go left!
Give me a sec. I'm on it!
Sega's Blue Blur has produced a couple of great 3D platformers, but when Sonic drops the ball, the franchise leaves a crater in its wake. Sonic 2006 is so broken that it can be fun to mess around with, a tiny defense that Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric can't even muster. Incorporating various playstyles that simply serve to slow down the game's pacing, Rise of Lyric isn't even terrible in an ambitious way, as Unleashed had already done melee combat, and the adventure games did a far greater job of utilizing different playable characters. Worst of all, Rise of Lyric doesn't even get Sonic's fast-paced platforming right.
We won't let you get away.
My dear
Number 3. Balan Wonderworld. Published by Square Enix and directed by Yuji Naka, whose portfolio includes most of the best 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games, Balan Wonderworld is an ill-conceived failure of baffling proportions. Uninspired levels, a nonsensical storyline, and boring hub worlds are just minor issues when compared to Balan Wonderworld's greatest flaw. This is a platformer that blocks jumping. For whatever reason, the game maps a single action to every button, forcing players to unlock basic moves by swapping costumes. That means that, depending on the outfit, there will be instances where Balan cannot jump. The game doesn't even manage to justify this gimmick. Number 2. Bubsy 3D.
For starters, grab all the items you see. There's plenty of them in each level. And if you get enough of them, you'll be in for some surprises.
A mascot does not need to star in a great game to reach legendary status, and this wisecracking Wooly is the perfect example. There are plenty of bad 3D platformers, but Bubsy 3D exists on its own floating platform far above most of its contemporaries. Released 3 months after Super Mario 64, Bubsy 3D is light years behind Nintendo's classic in terms of aesthetics, controls, and level design. This masterpiece of awfulness looks ugly, plays horribly, and even grates on the ears if the option to mute Bubsy's stand-up routine is not selected. While not as intended, Bubsy 3D has brought plenty of joy to the world.
This guy gives stupid a bad name.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions. Bionicle, because even fans of Bionicle will find little to enjoy here. Barbie Explorer, because Lara Croft at her Angel of Darkness worst still puts Barbie to shame.
This pit is too long to jump, but there are some monkey bars overhead.
Earthworm Jim 3D, because it's a poor imitation of 3D platformers and a terrible follow-up to the 2D era. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Ninjabread Man. With shovelware like Anubis 2 and Mythmakers, Trixie, and Toyland, Data Design Interactive left quite a mark on the mid-2000s platforming scene, and those two games do not compare to the studio's magnum opus. Ninjabread Man's creativity starts and ends with its name, as any hope of something resembling a competent platformer disappears the second the game boots up. A lifeless menu gives way to a haphazardly pieced-together sugary wonderland and a playable character who treats button inputs as mere suggestions, particularly in the Wii version. Ninjabread Man exists to confirm that, yes, a game can always be worse. In In the mood for more awesome gaming content? Be sure to check out this video here on Mojo Plays. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.